It is just gone 11 p.m. It is Thursday in New York. It is just gone 12 noon in Beijing. It is 6 a.m. Central African Time in Babane in the Kingdom of Eswatini. Good morning and welcome to the Friday edition of Kusile Breakfast Show. We are coming to you live from our Hospital Hill Studios in Babane. It is Friday, the 15th of March, 2024. I am LinkedIn Kule. Many thanks for joining us.
Kusile kunjani?
Amthungishumna kubili mbamba.
Ya namuhla vele ngisibutho. Lingithi zaba lenkulu ngabona esihlanu ngathi ukuthi kubangelwa yini bantu bajabule ukuthi ngilesihlanu.
So banemali ba weekend.
Oh ngileti igwini.
Awukade ujabule kahle utele imali.
Ya bafana.
Ngiyangibona nje mina sikujabula kwami vele kuzoshaya.
Ya kufana nabalabalele nyalo digwilile. Ngoba na ungasiso sigwili sovela uvukile
ubuka netinkukhu takho nabodalade.
Ya tinyeni takho ya
but ngasikhonza kusise abantu sebahlala la kumasabas kude naleli bala
lamadolobheni
kude volta
lokukhona ngilokugicika lamphethe
yabo sikokela kumagani yinalo xasho dasendlini
ngophe shoes morning
yeah
ngiyakubona okusile siyabusela namhla ekseni. It is a beautiful Friday morning. Sethemba ukuthi daluthokothela namhla luhlelo lesini phathele lona litaba mnanzi nangemambala sosela kakhulu labo labavuka nathi noma ke ngabe uvuka nathi eshiselweni uselibonjeni ukahoho noma usengabave kamanzini siyakuvusela. It is going to be a beautiful Friday morning and it's going to be a beautiful Friday and essentially lempela sonto itabangleyo lehle kakhulu tindzaba ke tempela sonto sitawuthi khulumisa kakhulu uhlangothi lwetemidlalo na Fabrice Msonera kubuka nje imidlalo letaba khona kule mphela sonto ataba khona ke ama games lapha ekhale swagatsile lataqala nje lamuhla sigatsile ukuthi lozitha space idlale nayo imbabane Swallows andike kusasa eKing Sobhuza Memorial Stadium lokuyi King Sobhuza the second kutaba nenyanyali versus iHotspurs. Prince of Wales Sports Ground kutaba ne7 Dreams versus iThabankulu Kelisa taba khona ke nalamanye ama games lataba khona imphela sonto isachubeka manje lokukhulu ku English Premier League ama games amisiwe but ke sitawuchubeka sibuke yona iFA Cup le chubeka sitayibuka ke nemiphumela lebekhona kuleli viki sibonile ukuthi liqembu leArsenal lingenile ku top 8 and kube nema conversations lamanengi ema fans aArsenal sa celebrate ukuthi hey kanti isikhathi bese sithe kangaka so lokuthi ngafiki kule stage lesi we do want to look at that a team that is considered a great club engabe kuba infrequent kwayo kufika kuma stages lanjena kusho ukuthini nizabe lesayixoxisa na Fabrice Msonera.
Kazebo ngosisaphiza sibukwenza baye at hour uyakhumbula ukuthi ke on the last Saturday of March umhlaba uthatha nje lelo hour kusuka ku 8:30 to 9:30 local time kucishwe emalambo noma sithi nje lawo la ngasimcoka kakhulu acishe bonke sinzabaye konga gesi kuliwa ke nekugucugucuka kwesimo selitulu kongiwe nemvelo sabe sinaye ke Dr. Constance van Zyldal sithiteka ke leto dzaba leto na leswati nalo liyatimbaza kanje nemhlaba nakunema initiatives la fana nalawa kuthenini akongiwe imvelo. Yeah
lokukhulu kakhulu ngithini le ngutholaka ukuthi kule mphela sonto kutawuba nale Earth Hour Green Walk le ndaba ke niyicocisa na dokotela sithe dokotela bani kepha Van Zyldal dokotela Van Zyldal wayicocisa na dokotela Van Zyldal kathi kuleli viki lelitako noma ke le mphela sonto yekugcina tasike sekuba ngilelo hour leli mcwa kakhulu.
Okay bongo asibuke ke isegment yethu yephepha run namhla kusenze sibuke ukuthi ngabe ngitiphe lethamba phambili kumaphepha nzabe level eSwatini. Azake sitaqala ke sibuke yona iTimes of Eswatini sibuke ukuthi ngutiphi lethamba phambili langeni la lomuhla njoba kungulesihlanu nje tinsukuthi lishumi nesihlanu kuyo inyanga yaMarch eminyakeni ke wa 2024 kunemntana ke lo neminyaka lelishumi nesithupha sho ke ushaywe ngembakatha yesitini waseke uyakwazwa nguloyo lebekathe limabeka mshela seshell sakhe inhlatha lembi waseke uyashiya emhlabeni. Suspect is 39 years ukathi ke ukholeleke ibhayili kanti ke ubhekene nemaqala statutory rape kubulala ke ma teenagers lamabili silokele lesibhlungu kanti ke public transport workers to get 13.5% salary hike kuletimnazi ke letalabo labasebenta khona etinqoleni letekuthutha kuthiwa ke ngasemahola abo ke atawuphakama kanti ke le indzaba lekhona 760 emalangeni almost deducted from civil servants salaries. Parliament can't interfere with judiciary ngisho indvuna ithi iparliament angeke icambukele etindzabeni temtsetfo ngikhathatha ngile tibese tiphuma njani nanza kuba indzaba yemholo yesebenzi ibetween lesebenzi nemcashi waso
yenza lakhathatha kodwa nje mina ngikhathatha kakhulu yana ngilona minyaka lengamashumi lamathathu nemfica losabulelena ngomfana neminyaka lelishumi nesithupha ihlupha lo kona lengithini lo ukuthi live imhlaba unganyelwe imithetho kodwa nje ngaba ukuthi ungenta sento lesinje bese uphuma ngabo bail doesn't sit well with me kodwa nje siyayicocisa ingcenye sisachubeka nalo hlelo ake sibuke temidlalo making the leading story there good times of Eswatini after ingwenyama cup semi-finals somhlolo is damaged stakeholders own up to damages during meeting with ministry itolo ke babenemhlangano lapho khona ba own up kulandzela ukuthi kube naleyo monakalo leyo khona kaSomhlolo stadium kulenye ke Mbabane Swallows Nsingizini players officials implicated in chaotic clash. So again, the MTN Premier League game between Mbabane Swallows and Nsingizini Hotspurs. Leyaba ke chaos lenkulu. Lekhona badlali nema officials from both teams were implicated in the incident. So again, logo sekubange a very big chaotic clash and they are in a hot soup. On another one, AmaZulu march to quarters South Africa. Kanzike go Manchester, Benny might leave Manchester United.
Sibuka ke liphepha indzaba eSwatini observer nakhona indzaba lebhlungu yalo mntana lo bulewe ngesibhuku nangesibulawela teen raped gruesomely murdered teenager held hostage by predator who had hunted her after posting bail kuthiwa ke umtimba senemasithumbu sakhe sifuleke bafana si in a pool of blood sigoqeteleke ngengubo kuthiwa inhlangano yakamhlaba yakamhlabuhlangene idumisa ke live leSwatini ngabomake labasetikhundleni ke tepholi UN praises Eswatini for women in politics akhumbula ke sePinland nankulu bekade lingeleleke umhlangano le eNew York. Son fights for share of Mshamdani's 10 million estate wake madodana akhe ayabanga le estate yakhe ya 10 million akhumbula ke Ben Mshamdani sibanze kuthiwa ke abantu basevuvulana ngibona labathika bedeke kakhulu ngalesiphepho lebesikona le cyclone Philippo.
Nasibuka temidlalo keSwatini observer lomhla ekseni sihlangu circus is the leading story le khulumisa ke indzaba ye-Eswatini Football Association sithi yona it opts for a series of practice matches with the local teams kanti ke ama fans wona athi they feel the squad will not gain anything Radebe yena uthi coach is trying ema combinations. So many inputs there, okay, ehlukile from all the stakeholders khona kusihlangu. One another one, money is needed for live football broadcast, and that's according to Indvuna Yembuso etikola ICT, umhlonishwa Savannah Mazia, who has explained it is that late khona ekuthenini kube ne current blackout ekusakatweni kwemidlalo yebhola yalapha ekhaya ke Eswatini TV.
Nembala ke bongo singleto ke naletinye tatitfola kuwo emaphephandzaba elivela seSwatini namhla ekseni azike sitawubahlola emarket bongo sitawubuya ke sithatha teqala lomhla. We are watching the Friday edition of Kusile Breakfast Show. Good morning wherever you are in the kingdom.
Ujala masaba mahle kunathi lesa.
Sabatandi ukuthi njengalokho
Sibili sive sikhulume.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m, where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Kwalomhla siphinze sikwamukele ehlelweni sivuselena nawe lo tsanza kusijoyina kayi kusile breakfast show lomhla ekuseni kwesikhatsanyalo sita uthokotela naditi indzabate siswati. Ingwenyama ethi kumbiwa kwemcebo waphansi etimayini takuleli kufanele kulethe intfutfuko emimangweni yakuleli. Silo sithi lokhu kungenta ukuthi noma sekuphelile kumba etimayini kusale intfutfuko lejabulisako. Ingwenyama iphefumule emhlume ngesikhathi ikhonjiswa imayini yemalahle uhlobo lwe-anthracite lekubhekeke ukuthi icale kusebenta. Kanti-ke kulo msebenzi ingwenyama beyisingetfwe bomake emakhosikazi, bantfu benkhosi kanye nandvunankulu.
Uya ngekuqina umgomo wengwenyama ukuthi umcebo waphansi lombiwa etimayini takuleli ulethe intuthuko emimangweni. Le mayini yamalahle elihlobo lwe-anthracite itawuba nesandla lesibandi ekukhuleni kwemnotho welive nasekufukuleni inhlalakahle yaso. Ingwenyama ichazelwe ukuthi le mayini iqukethe emathani emalahle latigidzi letingamashumi 25 kanti kutawumbiwa emathani latinkulungwane letine kuya kulawo latinkulungwane letisihlanu ngelilanga uma seyisebenta. Ingwenyama iphefumule yevakalisa kwenetiseka kwayo mayelana nekuthi le mayini ita nemathuba emisebenzi. Igcizelele ke ingwenyama indzaba yokuthi akube khona lokuzuzwa sive kulo msebenzi kude ukuthi noma sewugoqotiwe kusale intuthuko lebonakalako.
Nasi sebenta tindzaba temamayini bonale ukuthi nalo lesikugubhako la ubonale ukuthi kungakani emimangweni. Ngasingalelinye ilanga nasekuphela imayini bese umango sosale ukhala ngembangandlala kuphenze sekuvuka indlala ufuna imayini nayikhona emimangweni iphenze yakhe nalo mango ukuthi uthuthu kuphenze usale ukuthi noma seyiphelile imayini iqhubeke iphile. Kepha-ke nginonke lesenawo bese siwushiya kini lo msebenzi siyasemba ukuthi hawu nawuphatha kahle umsebenzi bekunene.
Ingwenyama ijinge njalo yakhutsata kubambisana kude lo msebenzi ube impumelelo.
Lokuhle ukuthi kwanza imisebenzi lapha emathuba atawuvela anze abe manyendi njengoba nakuqala nje lo msebenzi naku sisanibona seninganga lokuningaka live belisho ukhala ngemisebenzi imisebenzi yashoda epha nase sibona lo lemisebenzi lena usho isiniketa litsebe. Zawumayende maswati latawu phumelela emsebenzini bekunene sithi ke nathi awu njengoba lo msebenzi nangu semusha usaqathuda nine leseni la kiwo so semahlombekini nonke sinani nonese lo msebenzi phumelele yaba boshugafeni yababona nje emacazini baqala kancane kepha-ke ngekuthi baneswe sebakhula sekwaba netithelo letitfolakalako kulo msebenzi. Sithemba ukuthi-ke nani nida ukwenda njalo niwubambe lo msebenzi nibambisane ungonakali lo msebenzi. Nithi nangibuye eminyakeni emkhanze sowukhule kakhulu.
Emalahle latawumbuka kule mayini atawulolonga kuleli angakaphumeli etimakethe tangephandle. Kuba khona kwengwenyama esifundzeni saselibonjeni kulamalanga kuvulela lesifundza lithuba lekuthi yatiseke kahle ingwenyama ukuthi sesithuthuke sefika kuphi nekuthi siphindze sithole lunyawo silweni mayelana nekuthi singayikhulisa njani intuthuko yaso. Bika kwethu indzabeni ngisandile Makhanya emhlume.
Sive saseshiselweni sitawutfola lusito lwetemphilo mahala. Ngikusho kwendvuna yelitiko letempilo umhlonishwa Mduduzi Mathebula lolu sito olufaka ekhathi kuhlola tifo kuhlolwa kwematinyo kanye naletinye tifo letingathelelwana. Indvuna ethi lolu sito litawetfulwa baka Rotary ngaphansi kwemkhankaso i-Rotary Family Days.
Sive sasenshiselweni sitawutfola kwelashwa bodokotela labachamuka kulamanye mave mahala. Isukumisa lo mkhankaso wekusita sive indvuna yelitiko letempilo umhlonishwa Mduduzi Mathebula ithi-ke labodokotela batawulapha sive eJericho eclinic kaZombotse kanye nasecinisweni primary.
The outreach will provide medical and dental services to the children in the mentioned schools as well as the neighboring communities. The services will be delivered. The services to be delivered will include medical consultation, screening, testing for various diseases such as NCDs, HIV/AIDS, TB, STIs, cervical cancer, voluntary male circumcision, and dental care, amongst others.
Dokotela Musa Mthetho welicembu le-Rotary Club uthi-ke sive lesinyenti asikhona ukutfola litfuba lekucilongwa ngulabo lesebacocozele ema-specialist.
Sikhona lokuyofika lena esiveni angikho lokumcoka kakhulu nangingabekisa nje ukuthi bantu abakhoni kutfola litfuba lokuthi babone bodokotela labathile labasemadolobheni ikakhulu ema-specialists nje bodokotela laba kwanza ukuthi ba-professional kuloko labakwendawo kukahle lokho ukuthi sihambe siyofika khona lemakhaya batotfola leli thuba leli mahala futhi ngikho nje lokuhle kakhulu nalosi lokulashwa mahala.
Lo mkhankaso utawuchubeka kusukela mhla ka-18 kuya ku-21 March 2023 etindzabeni kubika sondomlangeni nginasifiso Nxumalo eMbabane.
Indvuna yelitiko letemidlalo labasha nemasiko umhlonishwa Bonganzima ithi emakhono sengiyo indlela yekuphila lekufanele ukuthi abantu labasha bayithathe kude-ke batawukhona kugucula impilo yabo ibe ngilengcono. Indvuna beyikhuluma ngesikhathi kusukunyiswa umgomo we-Eswatini National Council of Arts and Culture ngaphansi kwesicubulo lesithi Monetizing the Arts.
Litiko letemidlalo yemasiko nensha ngekubambisana nenhlangano yakamhlaba yetemfumvo nemasiko selisukumise umgomo wekusebenta weminyaka lesihlanu we-Eswatini National Council of Arts and Culture kanye nemhlangano lomkhulu tawuthatha emalanga lamabili. Indvuna yaleli tiko umhlonishwa Bonganzima ithi inhloso yalo mhlangano kuvala sikhala lesivulekile emkhatsini wemakhono ngekuhlukana kwawo kanye nelitiko. Indvuna ithi ngekuhlanganisa tinhloko batawuphuma netindlela tekutfutfukisa luhlangothi lwetemakhono.
There is no doubt that our artists are immensely talented and creative. However, there is a need for your work to translate into profit, first to benefit you and then others around you, thereby assisting the country alleviate unemployment and poverty. I have been pleased to note that the topics for the discussion during this summit will speak exactly to monetizing issues, including contracts, music distribution, royalties, online facilities, hosting festivals, accessing funding. It is through acquiring such knowledge that we can upscale our work to ensure that our arts is managed as business.
Lobeyamelele inhlangano yakamhlaba yetemfumvo tesayensi kanye nemasiko lwandle simelane ukhutsate insha ukuthi ichubeke nekukhicita kude ikhone kwakha imali.
Over the years, UNESCO, through extensive consultation with member states, has come up with frameworks and roadmaps to support and inculcate culture and arts into development. Namely, we have the Seoul Arts Agenda, the Lisbon Roadmap, and the most recent UNESCO framework for arts education and culture to ensure that emerging issues are always incorporated.
Kulomhlangano lomkhulu kubheka ukuthi labo lasebasimeme kulolu hlangothi lwetemakhono banikede lwati bahlabeleli bakuleli lokufaka ekhathi umhlabeleli Don Laka lotawuba sikhulumi lesikhulu kanye nemlingiswa seNingizimu Afrika Hamilton Dlamini. Lubekade endzabeni ngesindiswa zane Ana Fabrice Msonera kaManzini.
Indvuna yelitiko letemcebo waphansi nemandla umvane nkosi umhlonishwa lonkhokhela sayinikete emave enhlangano lesendansi ne-Afrika yagesi i-Southern African Power Pool kutsi ibukete indlela letikhonsako tekukhicita gesi futsi-ke ungasiduleli sive. Indvuna lebekadze imelelwe lisekela lamabhalane lomkhulu Kusile Mabuza ikuvete loku ngesikhatsi ivula umhlangano we-62 walenhlangano lebekadze ubanjelwe ehhotela le-Happy Valley ezulwini.
Selichubeka nenkulumo yendvuna lisekela lamabhalane lomkhulu lithi njengoba emave aka-SADC achubeka nekukhula kumgcokwa ukuthi lenhlangano ihlanganise bochwepheshe labatawubuka indlela tekuthi lamave achubeke akhone kutikhicitela gesi lowanele. Uchubeka ukuthi indvuna yithi gesi udlala indzima lenkulu ekutfutfukiseni umnotfo walamave, ngako lo mhlangano kufanele uphume netisombululo tekuthi lamave akhicite gesi sivele sitawukhona nekuwusebentisa ngemanani laphansi.
I acknowledge that the development of renewable energy projects being embarked on by many of the SADC countries is bringing a lot of private power developers into the sector, and it is only proper to allow them space to operate regionally. I am informed that you have revised your membership categories to allow these players to participate in electricity trading in SAP. I therefore urge you to continue to cooperate with these new players such that together you pursue the goal of providing reliable, sustainable and affordable power for all our citizens in the region.
Sihlalo waleli komiti lalenhlangano yagesi emave lasendasi ne-Afrika Luwi uthi batawubuka imisebenzi lemikhulu kulamave kuthi ingathuthukiswa kanjani kuti atawuchubeka akhicite gesi lowanele.
Our deliberations, they fall around critical projects that have to be implemented in terms of interconnections. Mostly we touched on the issue of interconnecting Angola that has got a 2 gigawatt surplus of power capacity, but they are not yet able to trade in the market because they are not interconnected.
Konziswe ngapane yemagesi kuleli Ernest Mkhonda uthi leSwatini lenda imisebenzi leyahlukene kuthuthukisa kukhicitwa kwagesi lapha eveni.
Silibandla lemagesi eSwatini sibuke ema-projects lalithandana lafaka ekhathi ihydro kukuphehla gezi ngemandi lapha kumaguga. Lenye ke iproject siyibuka ke nalomnye lotimele lophehla gezi la endasi nelisuthu nawendlula nje siteshi sasemaguduza sibitwa ngalowa maguduza. Leso siteshi leso singamphehla gezi lolingana 13 lema megawatts agesi.
Hlangano locale ngemsombuluko ubuka tinhlangothi letahlukene letifaka ekhathi kuhlela nekusebenta tindzaba tagesi kanye nekubuka kunganyukubeti imvelo kusaphehlwa gesi kubala kulokunye. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Nelson Ndlangamandla kunavuma inkhosi indzimisa ezulwini.
Salufike emaphethelweni luhlelo lwekukhutsata kulinywa nekudliwa kwetibhidvo temdzabo latiwa-ke nge-Taiwan Vegetables Initiatives. Akhuluma nakuvulwa umhlangano sikolwa wekugcina walomsebenzi imabhalane lomkhulu elitiko letekulima Sydney Simelane uthi luhlangosi lwetekulima lifake isandla ekubhebheteleni inkinga yeguquguquka kwesimo selitulu. Simelane uthi lolu hlangothi kufanele lusebentele ukuthi netinhlelo tekwenta lesimo ukuthi sibe ngilesingcono ngetindlela tekulima leto-ke letingeke tibe nemthelela lotawubulala titsako temhlaba kanye netilwanyana netilimo. Simelane bekakhuluma uma sukumisa ngalokusemthethweni umhlangano sikolwa wekugcina waloluhlelo.
LeSwatini lingilelinye lemave lamane lapho lolu hlelo luchutshwa khona ngenhloso yekukhutsata ukuthi bantfu badle tibhidvo temdzabo. Lolu hlelo solufike emaphethelweni. Mabhalane lomkhulu welitiko letekulima Sydney Simelane nakavula umhlangano sikolwa wekugcina ngci walolu hlelo uthi-ke lolu hlelo lusite kakhulu ukubuyisa tindlela letinganyukubeti imvelo.
We have been the main culprits and contributors to the significant loss of agrobiodiversity, particularly biodiversity including the underlying wild vegetables and other microbial species that thrive in a balanced natural ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, we have even irrationally promoted the use of herbicides while in ignoring other weed control, suppression and soil fertility improving agricultural practices such as intercropping, rotational or even cover cropping, particularly with climate-adapted legumes, despite being aware of their benefits on soil fertility improvement, soil health, and other soil microorganisms.
Umhlonishwa Jeremy Liang loncoselele Taiwan kuleli uthi lolu hlelo lokukhuthatha sive kuthi sidle kudla lokunemsoco netithako letakha umtimba.
TAVI is a joint venture funded by Taiwan government and work closely with Ministry of Agriculture, Eswatini, and other international partners. Through the World Vegetable Center, we want, through the TAVI, we want to bring back the awareness among the Eswatis, the traditional vegetable in Eswatini. This is of great importance for to balance the nutrition deficiencies in this country, and it's of great importance. People should pay attention to the traditional vegetable of Eswatini.
Marco Wipperis umqondisi jikelele walolu hlelo uthi ke lapha eveni bafinyelele etikolweni letinyenti kuchuba lolu hlelo lokuyinfo lamanye emave lesafuna kuyenda.
African traditional vegetables are a key resource, I think, for nutrition, health and livelihoods, and they're really in need of help. If we're not careful, we'll lose that biodiversity as we speak because of climate change, urbanization, industrialization, and also because more and more people just eat the same, like I would say, boring food, you know.
Lolu hlelo luphindze lasita ukuthi leSwatini libe nendzawo yokugcina tinhlanyelo i-Gene Bank lechazwe njengalehamba embili kulesifundza sakaSadak. Itindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni kaManzini.
Litiko letetindlu selicale kwemukela imivo yesive mayelana nekwakhiwa kwemtsetfo lotawengamela kusebenta kwalabachumanisa labatsengisa tindlu kanye nalabo lababatsengi pheceleti Real Estate Agents Bill. Mapalane lomkhulu etiko letetindlu Dr. Simon Zwana uthi lo mtsetfo utawusita ekutheni uvikele ukuthi tindvo letingekho emtsetfweni tingenteki lokufaka ekhatsi kushushumbiswa kwemali. Zwane bekakhuluma ngesikhatsi litiko lihlangene nema-Real Estate Agents kaManzini.
Luhlangothi lokuthengiswa kwetindlu real estate libonakala lindlondlobala kakhulu emhlabeni nalapha eveni. Ngenhloso yokuqinisekisa tekuphepha kulolu hlangothi, litiko letetindlu nemadolobha selicale umkhankaso wekuhlanganisa umthetho lotawengamela labo labachumanisa bathengi nalabathengisa tindlu. Akhuluma kulomhlangano, mabhalelo omkhulu waleli tiko Dr. Simon Zwane uthi ke labo labathintekako sebangacala bafake imivo yabo.
Kulokusebenta lokhu lesikhuluma ngako kwekuthenga nekuthengisa. Kunetimali letishisiwe letivamsa kuyale nale. Suka kulesandla lesi ungene kulesandla lesa. Nangabe kunema transaction lanjalo nemathabela ngoti abakhona. Emathabela ngoti kungaba kwekuthi laba lamkhatsini the real agents kube ngulaba imbumbulu labangisibo kahle kahle labagadze nje kwekuthi yini labangayitfola ngalokungekho emthethweni either bayitfola kulona lothengako noma badoje lona lothengisako. Sike sakubona ke lokho nasemaphepheni kuke kwabikwa emahlandla lamanyenti. Lokunye lokungenteka kwekuthi le mali lesuka kulesandla lesiye kulesa ukhanze ukuthi kukhona lapho isuka ngalokungekho emthethweni khona. Sithi money laundering. Lawo mathuba lawo asetulu kule industry le. Nangabe ke sifuna kusebenta ngesizotha kusho kwekuthi kubalekile ukuthi sibe nawo lo mthetho lotawenda ukuthi kube nekuvikeleka kwetehlakalo letinjalo. Because if that happens or if sivula nje siyekelela nje kusho ukuthi tawusuka imali etindzaweni letingakafanele noma letfolakele ngendlela lengekho emthethweni ibuye ingene la kule economy lesemthethweni.
Kubheke ukuthi litiko lichubeke nekuhlangana nabo bonke labathintekako kulolu hlangothi kuze kwakhiwe lo mthetho. Itindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni kaManzini.
Kutemidlalo lonxusele live leNgilandi kuleli Simon Boyden uthi live lakangwane linabo badlali labanemakhono. Boyden usiloku wakubona uma bukela imidlalo ema-Olympics and Commonwealth Games lebekabanjelwe edolobheni le-Birmingham eveni leNgilandi.
Lo nxusele live lemangisi kuleli Simon Boyden uthi live lakangwane libonakala linelithalenta sibili kutemidlalo. Boyden uthi lokhu kubonakala kakhulu ngesikhathi tinhlangano tetemidlalo etahlukahlukene tingenela imiqhudelwano emhlaba lifa ikhathi ema-Olympics kanye nale ema-Commonwealth.
Well, absolutely. I mean, there were, I think, almost a dozen Eswatini who went to Birmingham 2 years ago for the Commonwealth Games and competed at the highest level. I'm looking forward to seeing which Eswatini qualify for the Olympics in Paris this year. So listen, that's obviously the level which generates the global attention. But I think what's really important is that everyone, regardless of the level of their ability or their access to facilities, is able to enjoy sporting physical activity.
Nakulokunye Boyden uvete umuvo wakhe emidlalweni English Premier League yalonyaka lakathi khona amaqembu lamathathu lalelwa yona lenkomishi lokuyiManchester City, Liverpool kanye neArsenal onke anawo amathuba okuyiphakamisa. Boyden uphethe ngekukhuthata tinhlangano tetemidlalo kuleli ukuthi tichubeke tisebente ngekukhandla kude ukuthi izinga letemidlalo liphakame lapha eveni. Lobikela umsakazi Eswatini TV temidlalo ngilinda Dlamini kanti umbiko uhlanganiswa uFabrice Msonera eMbabane.
Asitephethe kanjalo tindzaba tekucala tetfu kokusile breakfast show sitawubahlola etimakethe umvumo wesibaya tawube axoxisana na Dr. Constance Van Zuidam long-coordinator we-Earth Hour team lesigatheke ukuthi kutaba naloyo mshuco esukwini lakusasa.
Studio One is back on your screens with brand new episodes. Brand new episodes. Catch your favorite local artists, live performances, your movers and shakers, the hustlers, doing the work. Entertainment news, local and international, nothing but fresh vibes every Saturday at 6 p.m. Let's go. What are you doing on a Saturday evening? We got nothing but the best. Vibes from Moose.
Siyaqhubana lo kwehlelo nasanzabulela umsakazo yakho ubukela umsakazo Tithombe Eswatini TV siku Friday edition of Kusile breakfast show. Kanti ke ngiyakhumbula kahle ke lo ukuthi lapha eSydney Australia, I think it was on the 31st of March noma bengu 2017 lapho nje na Australia babamba ke kweqala nqa ukuthi basase nje le-hour lonke bacisha lokunga emalambu la ngasimgcoka angisho kanjalo. Yeah, ngesikhathi sakhona I think bekubo 7 local time. Yeah, anyway bongo siyangathule Dr. Constance Van Zuidam ngibita kahle mas Dr. Yeah, coordinator ke bongo sibile indaba leti 8 hour yakhumbula ukuthi on the last Saturday of March ngila khona ke emava kuthiwa lo ukuthi aka recognize le 8 hour kepha ke sitaqala ukuthi elangeni lakusasa kubheka ukuthi kunibe naleyo walk like tabe kucithelwa wona le Maswati sikhumbutanani ngale ndzaba yale 8 hour. Dr. Why is it important ukuthi kube nale walk? Ngicale lapho nje le taba khona kusasa.
Siyabonga kakhulu kune-walk mlalele ekhasini ibingelele lokwendeka ukuthi bekachubeka lama-walks khona lebeyisesteki ikhona namhla lesenhlangano leqala nga8:30 kuze kube ngo11 emini itawusuka emathendele iziyofika epark khona inhlangano nakusasa phindze ikhona letabe ikhona itaba semalkens icale ehouse on fire emalandelas ibese seyophethela kumahlanya lapho khona shokuthi siyacucutela nje siyendabani ukuthi babe aware ukuthi kufanele ukuthi umhlaba lapha lesihlala khona kube ngiloyo lohlobile kube ngilo lesiuphatha kahle kukhumbuta nje ukuthi info lokufuna ukuthi siyende kulandzela natinto letendeka kodabo climate change kumcoka ukuthi siuvikele sikhiphe na-environment lapha lesihleli khona kube ngilo lehlobile sitokhona kuba nginathi labantu abaphephile nalabatawukhonza bashiyele lesitukulwane lesitako letinfo letikhona ema-resources lekasiphewo nomdali.
I also do understand ukuthi kuphize ezisisale kule hour kube nema-cleaning campaigns that were ongoing ngikhumbula nje ansikhona ngayakhona la kubomba abanini bekhona nalapho libandla
beyikhona i-cleaning campaign sikuwo onke nje lamadolobha lakhona lapha even sikhuthata yonke nje umuntu lokhona sithi asisukumeni ngilo ende lichasa lelithide ukuthi songeni lemvelo siyende ukuthi kube ngilo lehlobile ngaso sonke isikhathi kuyi build up activity ke le towards le earth hour lesitabe si commemorate mhla ka23 March khona lapha ehouse on fire kodwa kungasiko lokho kuphela ukuthi nawe wena losekhaya kunelichasa lelithide lokufuna ukuthi ulende so info lokufuna ukuthi kahle kahle siyende onke malanga kungabi ngekuthi senda ngalo 23 March kuphela kodwa info lesiyendako nje sibe ne lifestyle lapho khona ibang leyo le sustainable kufaka ekhathi na ukuthi nje nawe esitolo thenga phela sikhwama sakho lotabuhle na uya naso esitolo ufake izinto takhe ekhathi sinciphise lokuthenga emaplastic ngoba ngabe sesithenga emaplastic sekufuna sowalahle ngiyolele sibhizi siwabutha nje laladliwa dingomo lokuwasheka ke emfuleni sinetifo nyalo letingatikwa ngiletinto lesisebenzisako lesingadilahli kahle letinyuku betale emvelo kanti lemvelo ngiyo lesizingako bese siyayimosha ke seyabuya ekithi nyalo sekunabo Philippo kunani sengithi siyakhala futhi
yakhumbula ke lokuthi lapha eKigali Kigali noma kuseNairobi yakuseNairobi man ukuthi African Union ubese socela ukuthi asale vele emhlaplanga nashalo umthetho ukuthi akube bede nje iplastic eliba khona namhlabeni angasakhicitwa nje amaplastic indzaba konga lemvelo but you have vast experience kule indzaba thinza nje bo environment dokotela now uhleti ubuka are we doing enough as a kingdom to protect the environment nekuthi ke ngabe vele emaswati ayabubonela kumcoka balento lelivangele lentshumayelako every day.
Siyabonga kakhulu silive kuningi live lelikwendako kunemithetho leshayiwe kunayo emaplastic kunekuthi azivikeleni singamane sishise singendini sonke imvelo so ikhona imithetho kuze kunelitiko lelibuke tona temvelo ngiva ngathi live likhona li aligned kunetinvo lapho khona nanathi silive si party to some of lama conventions la kakhona lokusho ukuthi kukhona lesikwendako silive si align nalokwentiwa ngumhlaba wonke nanathi ke sima citizens sesibonile kunema projects la kendekako la sasiyabona ukuthi yati nangabe bakhala yini nangabe bakhima yini kunetinfo lokufuna ukuthi bangatendi kithi kufuna ukuthi bonke baniseba awela ngephandle kungako nje nanyalo kule initiative ye-Earth Hour siyajabula kakhulu ukuthi emaswati lamaningi ayabambisana nanathi sibonile in the past ukhanze ukuthi siyeda sitoncusa sikhuthathe a7 ncinye sibeke ukuthi sifuna kuseve 10 lo nyaka nje sithi a7 ema megawatts la ka20 ngaleli hour siyabambisana ukhanze silesinye isikhathi siyagabathela ukhanze siseve 54 megawatts ngaleli hour lokusho ukuthi emaswati abona bomcoka balendvo lena lekuthiwa kwendiwe kuthiwa asisebenzise letikhwama yabona abantu nabaya etitolo abasawathengi bantu emaplastic ukhanza bafake etinfetrolini bete netikhwama tabo bafake ekhathi gesa simungeni emasimini asingamoshe emanti kuse ikhona le I mean bantu seba awenya lokuthi kufuna ukuthi ama lifestyles abo abe ngilawo la sustainable sekhona labanye labathi tethine yati inyama yenkomo asayili sasicela kuphila ngekuthi sidle tinfo leti like letihlata tibhidvo sesinema vegetarian incumbi ngilokuhle lokho labanye nabagezako abamoshe manje nabapheka sekukhona lokuba conscious ukuthi asingabi ngile society le wasteful asustain ema companies kunena ba implementa ema systems voluntarily kudumflo baforsa ukuthi abende tinto so seyikhona le awareness and kuningi lolushintsho lolwentekako but ke silive we can still do better even though ema companies emakhayeni kunetinhlangano letikhona khona letisho kona ukuthi akongiwe gesa kwendiweni asisebenzise tinfo singamoshe ama resources ethu ngoba yaphela lama resources lesinawo lamanye awo so kufuna siwasebenzise kahle kuze kusilala amanye la khona kunintfo lenye lekhona nje kulamalanga bo secular economy ukuthi info lo isebenzisile akuphinze awuthi leyo resource lesebentile ungalahli uthathe phinze wakhe lenye i-resource letawuphinze isebente kwakha lenye into lesitaphinze ziyisebentise so sekukhona lokho emphakathini sekuthi nje kufuna ukuthi sichubeke sibe innovative sichubeke sibe ngilawo bantu labafundzako sitokhona ekuletha letinye tinto kuze kusilomsaba lesinawo utokhonza situkulwane esikhone kutfola lama resources la khona nalomhlaba ube khona nekuthi sinciphise lama impacts akhona ngoba uyabona nje nyalo lokunye kubangwe ama activities but sekukhona sesiyabona siyathi nje kade ngcenye na ulima bowulima ubhekise sinoma kanjani sesiyathi nyalo kufuna ulime wente ema contract nawuthi seyikhona le understanding ethi nawenda info angeke ukhone ukuthi utendele uwedvana kufuna ukuthi sibambisane sitowukhona ukuthi nangabe wena wende lokuncane nami ngende lokuncane nasahlangene lama efforts kuba kuningi lomhlaba useveke and sifundzisane because kule initiative nje at our kunalokuthi nale pass wonke umuntu kusukela etulu kuya pass asibeni aware ukuthi kunenfo leso climate change is affect us sonke kudethi ngoba ulibhange wena kufuna ukuthi wena udila netimala ungenelana ngiyajabula nje ukuthi nyalo sinemabhange lesinawo nawo angenile ukuthi yathi thini sicela kubambisana Philip aka affect basembabane kuphela noma aka affect i-meat industry u-affecta wonke umuntu so sibambisene simunye siphakamisa livi linye singile ama stakeholders sithi asiwongena umhlaba asiyongena imvelo kuze kuthi sitokhona kuphila thina netitukulwane tethu nanathi impilo yethu nyalo ibe ngileyo lekahle kube khona lokuncane lesikwenda kwetindzaweni letihlukahlukene la sikhona khona
boko siteka ngendaba yale walk letabe khona ke kusasa nawo bolobamba nje lobamba lomdzala bokwaluseni bomalkhens nemacenzelo ungaba part of leyo kuleyo ke inzabe lenkulu kuhambisa ke lelivangele kusi asigcine imvelo bonkosi ingileyo lephephile idokotela sesigcina nje conversation lena lesingaba nayo la even ikhona ke lenye ingcenye lethi no we shouldn't be serious about this thing let those big countries laba sibangela le problem le kube ngibo la bendale lekufanele bakwende because noma sine singakwenda lokwethu but truly speaking we don't contribute that much lo bese sekusilimata ke sonke what can you say to those people today
ngiyabakhuthata ukuthi abasibambise yebo bayona laba labonile ngicabanga ukuthi bayathi nabo lokusibayona ngikonya lokhanze kusibathe okay thine siyanincusa nelabanye ningasangeneli lokona lokubhlungu ukuthi okay singathi thine hayi nathi sicela kubambisana nabo sona egcineni wonke info lefana neclimate change angenda loya eSouth Africa endumonakalo for instance noma eMozambique lesibhakabhaka sinye lesischerishako nase ku-affecta thine sonke like nyalo nje lo hlela sengibekise ngenye kuseAmerica noma ngilenye live lapho khona kwenteka info laba affecteka kobobani ngithi Philip nyalo u-affecte bobani thine 2 weeks noma 3 weeks ago loku affecteka kwesive akungendeki kulamanye amave kwenteka nala Eswatini siyathintekana nathi kungako thina kufuna sakhe sendele ichasa lethu sendelo lokukahle sikhombise lokuthi sima stewards la kahle at least sidabe sende info lekahle ukuthi sine live lethu ngoba kwethu lesinako la Eswatini kungcono sikugcine kukahle for titukwalane letinye letikhona ngoba nabo lebatawubona emva kwesikhathi because nabo ayibadlalisi climate change inkinga lesibhekene nayo umhlaba wonke so asingasho ukuthi thina si right thina asendeni lichasa lethu mina ngikhuthata lokho nje kungiko lesikukhutha asivikelele lesinako thina esilanga uba ngithi lesishako nase kwenteka letinto nakulopho kwenteka nje kwa Philip kulamalanga laphelile angadi ukuthi kusaya lembili siyapi
true
ngcinye kuyofika bo 2050 angadi ukuthi sidabe sikuphi emanda taba sakhona sidabe sakhona kulima silime in stophila noma sidawufrayeka ngithi lesidabe sisha so we need to act now singameli ukuthi sidawendelwa ngumuntu thina sitendele lutho nyalo.
Right, Dokotela sibonga kakhulu ukuthi ube nasinamhla kuseni Themba usibongosi umsebenzi utawuhamba kahle yonke nje umsebenzi lehleliwe ehlelweni lelibandle lelungiselela ke le at hour nesemaswati ngilelo nalelo swati akube nenzima lelidlalako vele ukugcina imvelo iphephile. We have only one planet. Thani ke naso uhamba ukukhumbula lo mzala wethu insuku ukukhumbule ukuthi kulisondvo lento nalabanye labatawuta ngemuva bayikhanze abakhanze nje umhlaba right. President William Ruto, he speaks so passionately about the environment. Ikakhulukati nasekacela lokuthi we can do this thing in Africa but give us the money. Lamavela zathuthukela so market bengosi siyabuya siyaqhubeka nalo hlelo. You are watching the Friday edition of Kusile Breakfast Show.
I'm a very happy customer.
I know.
Imali ebhizinisi ayidliwa wayidla utolala phansi.
Hayi ngimsebenzi yethu lesindako la ekhaya njengoba niyibona lemihle nakangaka.
Ngiyagolosha which is crocheting.
Ngiyakhicita ke noko kakhulu emsebenzini wethu ikhumba.
Ngenda kwegaba emacici nokwegaba entsanyeni.
Ngilungisa emagedlela.
Hello, how are you? We are selling peanuts at 5. Thank you so much.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you'll go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience in the kingdom.
Bose siyaqhubeka nalo hlelo namhla ekuseni nasenza vula umsakazo wakho ngomsakazo eThombe Eswatini TV. Yakhumbula uSilphinland Nankulu belikathe lise New York lindelele kumhlangano la kutewa khona nje indzabada bomake lifike ke live laseSwatini ladrunyiswa ngenza imali elidlalako kuthuthukisa bomake ikakhulukathi ehlangothini lwepolitiki yebo-ke liqiniso lithi akusibo bonke-ke abomake labasehlangothini lepolitiki bakhona nabomake nje labasemakhaya le ngiyakhumbula ukuthi Ngonyama Yomhlaba yayithinza indzaba ukuthi bantu abathuthukiswe le laba khona inhlangano-ke likhona liphimbo labomake eSwatini nanalo ngikubambisana nalinye-ke inhlangano liyachubeka-ke ukuthi bomake abasitakale namhlanje studio bonkosi sinamake Kusile Maziya bona-ke banasisa lubombo Maziya anguvusele ngamukele ehlelo namhla nanithi nathisa lubombo nithi nenda
sithi sithuthukisa bomake ikakhulu kade kude enhlala kahle shokuthi social and economic empowerment lapho khona bakhona ukuthi philisa bakhona make ukuthi thuthukisa akhona make kungahlali ekhaya asukume kube khona la kwendako ukuze impilo ichubeke ekhaya.
Yes, I think it's a very important initiative Maziya nawubwalo ukuthi liqiniso even nje kunale sihlafa sekuswelakala kwemisebenzi but ke bomake bakhanya sibanawo emakhono labasithi labangafundiswa wona bakhone kuphila nithi nanibuka mhlambe vele singanani lesidingo sokuthi bomake basekeleke bakhone ucosha kade etiko lelibonjeni.
Sisikhanzi sisikhulu kakhulu lesidingo sokuthi bomake basekeleke ngoba esikhathini lesiningi banako nalokufuna kwenta into letithite kube ubade wona lamandla ikakhulu nje nasikhuluma ngamake asikhulumi ngamake ukuthi uneminyaka lemingakho sinensha insha lecedzile esikolweni lengakakhona ukuthatheka emakolishi nayo seyinalo leliphupho ukuthi siyisha nje sihlangene singadiphilisa ngani kunesidingo lesikhulu vele ukuthi ingathuthukiseka kuleyo misebenzi labayibona ukuthi ingabasida.
Kuba nemikhosi bonkosi even sibuya nje emkhosini webugano nalapho indlovu yemhlaba yavela yakwenza isiqiniseko ukuthi akube netinhlelo la kufundiswa khona bomake ukuthi bangadiphilisa njani kubake bangahlali nje ngifuna lokuthola ukuthi ngabe kuba ngenini leniqhamuka kulabo make nje ndawo nawo noma kuba ngilabo make ukuthi no thina sineliphupho ukuthi sifuna kufuya tinkukhu angibekise nje khona izaba lebesisakada itolo yabo laba abanye bomake khona ngalalibonjeni bathola ke lisito akhethwa bakhela ke ingadze bona badiphilisa ke ngaleyo ngadze ukuthi nibacijisa kuwa kudiphi inhlangothi.
Ngiyabonga baba. Kusho ukuthi thine siva ngalabo make esikhathini lesiningi. Esikhathini lesiningi sibakhanza abahlangene. Lesinye isikhathi beve ngathi ukuthi kunasinathi salibombu bekangala bese bayasithinza sebayathula ke liphupho labo ukuthi bona baphupha bese ke siyakhona ke kuvunulisana ke sisicola kahle ke sicholo sethu siboma ke ukuthi cha kuloku singasitana kanje sinale letinye ke inhlangano lesisebenzisana nato lesibese siyabathinza ngoba ngeke sikwadi konke ukuthi la ngiyabekisa kanzawo yabani sinabo make baneliphupho lekwakha bovaselina bese ke siyabachushisa kuye ngaloko labafuna kukwenda bona labo make kuleli phupho labo uze liphumele
kuba nenzaba yetimali ngiyakhumbula nje noma sesesibayeni beyivela lenzaba ukuthi tikhona tikhwama manje tikhona la khune ngabe sidakala khona ngetimali but kukhulu ukuthola letimali engabe ke ni nenda njani lapho nini ukuthi yes neliphupho lekufuya tinkukhu letinkukhu kufanele uyothengwa iqhamukapi ke leyo mali.
Siyabonga baba. Kusho ukuthi lapho siye sichaswe nje dihlobo deliver lesiticelile ngaleso sikhathi satitfola ukuthi sinabo make lapha bathi bafuna ukuthuthukisa bese uyafika ke lo thanzile leliphupho labo ukuthi alithuthukise. Akusiko lokho kuphela ke babe siyafuna nekuthi kwaphela abantu bahleli even bahleli emimangweni nje bengwenyama. Siyabathuthukisa lokuthi sibachumanise nabo babe ebucopho. Baye etinkundleni kuva ukuthi ngiluphi lisito ikakhulu nje kukhona inhlanyelo kukhona neRDF labo lasebafuna kuphupha ukuthi thina sesilokuphupha kancane sifuna kuphupha kube kukhulu siyabacela nabo bato bafundzisa ukuthi bangasitakala kanjani kuleto timali letikhona etinkundleni.
Uthinza indzaba lenkulu kakhulu iRDF nje iphakele bonke siphakele 177 million malangeni kuthene nihambe yawusita ke eMaswati kuba nemkhuhlane ke Maziya loba khona eMaswati lamanye ukuthi asikutayeli lokusebenta sibe yiteam nje engcese sibuthene singu20 singu10 kulo nalo ufuna umuntu utihambela yena lo sangu speaker nyalo eParliament beka induna ka agriculture babe mabuso wake wavetha indzabe ukuthi nawo wedwa nje kumake Maziya incenye ungahamba emakhilometer la ngu5 kanjani baningi ningamahamba 20 ukuthi niyalifaka leli livangeli lelo ukuthi kuyasita lo sisibuye nisebenza wona Sitawendadini.
Nkosi yami sinathi salibumbo ushumayela lelo sola ngabakhona na uchamuka nje uwedwa uthi utocela lisito uyabuta ukuthi hawu Nkosi yami ngabe linephi lelitulu lapho kumele umbila munye khona bese uyakhomba ke sibase siyaya ke la kumele umbila khona siyayifuna naleminye imimbila kungeneka kube ude wedwa nje wena awukwati kuhlupheka labanye sikhanze silokuhlupheka lotanga ngako wena balishumi bangetulu kwemashumi lamabili labahlupheke njengawo bese ke siyasho ukuthi awu sicela kunihlanganisa baye bakujabulele ke labaningi ngoba vele ngona lesikushumayelako bese kuba khona ke nalo elothi awu mina ngikahlela ikoneni lami manje kulukhuni ke vele kusitakala lapha ekoneni sine sikhuthatha lokuthi ngathi singahlangana sibe baningi sitokhona kusitakala umuntu na ushaya lapha nje akuvakali kana sishaya lesandla kusheshe bese kuyavakala
ingabe sesigcina nje make nanibuka emuva ningasho yini ukuthi ningathi shaya nisifuba noma sinishayile tandla ukuthi cha senibathuthukisile bomake khwalele senibabona ukuthi bebala namhla sebala sebayakhona ukuthumela abantwana esikolweni impilo nje seyingcono
babe Nkosi yami ngeke ngitishaye isifuba ngabonga nje kubambisana nemimango nabo bomake kutitsela bakhone kusilalela ngoba lesinye isikhathi kuyakulokuthi labo make bayalalela lokhu sibata usitakala mina nje nangisuka nje libonjeni ngidanga lapha ngidlule kalonhlupheko sesisukile impela kalonhlupheko sesiyafika emafutheni ngekuthi ithuthukisa kwabo bomake and nabangasingabambisana ngalendlela ngiyathemba lokuthi lubombo impela lingagcine lume ngemumo.
Mayima siyasibonga kakhulu sinifisela nje kusebenza lokuhle nabo bomake bakhuthatheke bonkosile ukuthi imisebenzi ekuqala emabhizinisi ngiyona live leselihambisa embili kuleti insuku tanamuhla kakhulukathi yona indzaba yekuthuthukisa bomake kuthi make akatimele maka khone naye kuba nelivi njengoba siteka yona indaba usike mhlawumbe balidumisa live leSwatini ngimsebenzi lendako yekuthuthukisa bona bomake events bathola ukuthi market bonkosi siyabuya sazenza bathe sibili hlalo mhla ekseni.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 76222000 or dial *007 *3 *7#, or you can use Eswatini Imali. You can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any NetBank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewer's TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163 or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
Ujala masada mahle kunathi lesa.
Sabatandi ukuthi njengalokho sivile sive sitikhulume.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sende ukukhicita lokuthi sekungeni.
But now in the second hour of this Friday edition of Kusile Breakfast Show, welcome if you've just joined us. I am Linton Kule. His Majesty King Eswatini III says mining operations must result in sustainable development for all communities across the kingdom. His Majesty was speaking during a familiarization tour of a coal mine in Mhlume. The King's tour was graced by Emma Kosigat, their Royal Highnesses, princesses, and the Prime Minister. The anthracite coal facility is expected to start.
His Majesty King Eswatini III is intensifying calls for the mining sector to contribute to the goals of sustainable development at community level. The King shared the thoughtful sentiments when he toured the mine, which is expected to start operating. The mining operation, which will bring job opportunities for the community in Mhlume, is set to contribute towards the growth of the economy of the country. His Majesty the King was informed that 20 million tons of anthracite coal will be extracted from the mining operation, while 4,000 to 5,000 tons will be produced on a daily basis. The King expressed his delight that the project will contribute immensely to job creation. His Majesty said mining operations must empower communities with sustainable development.
Bonale ukuthi nalo lesikugubhako la ubonale ukuthi kungakhani emimangweni ngasingalelinye ilanga nasekuphela imayini bese umango sosala ukhala ngembangandlala ukuthi awu sephenze sekuvuka indlala ufuna imayini nayikhona emimangweni iphinze yakhe nalo mango ukuthi uthuthu kuphinze usale ukuthi noma seyiphelile imayini iqhubeke iphile. Kepha-ke nginonke lesenawo bese siwushiya kini lo msebenzi siyasemba ukuthi awu nawuphatha kahle umsebenzi bekunene.
His Majesty said the success of the mining operation is a personal responsibility that should be embraced by all stakeholders.
Lokuhle ukuthi kwanza umsebenzi lapha emathuba atawuvela hanze abe manyendi njobana kuqala nje lo msebenzi naku sisanibona seninganga lokuningaka live belisokhala ngemisebenzi imisebenzi yashoda epha nase sibona lo ngemisebenzi lena usho isiniketha icebo zamayende maswati latawo uphumelela emsebenzini bekunene sithi ke nathi awu njoba lo msebenzi nangu semusha usaqathuda nine leseni la kiwo so semahlombekini nonke sinani neunese lo msebenzi uphumelele naba boshugakeni ababona nje emaqazini baqala kancane kepha ke ngekuthi baneswe sebakhula sekwaba netithelo letitholakala kulo msebenzi sithemba ukuthi ke nani nida ukwenda njalo niubambe lo msebenzi nibambisane ungonakala lo msebenzi ngithi nangibuye eminyakeni ngikhanze sokhule kakhulu.
While His Majesty's stay in the Lubombo region shines a spotlight on development that has been achieved by the region, it also presents an opportunity for the King to give direction on how more development can be achieved. On the news, I'm Sandile Makanya reporting from Mhlume.
The Rotary Club family has stepped up to provide free medical services to the people of Kusile. The Honorable Minister for Health, Mduduzi Matsebula, commends the significant contribution the Rotary family has made in providing health services to Eswatini. Matsebula says the medical stations will be set up at Jericho Clinic, Zombozo and Etinsweni Primary School.
The Rotary Community Outreach will provide Eswatini with free medical services from doctors from other countries. Speaking during the launch of the Rotary Family Health Day, The Minister for Health, Honourable Mduduzi Mathebula, stated that the medical assistance will include testing and dental services.
The outreach will provide medical and dental services to the children in the mentioned schools as well as the neighboring communities. The services will be delivered. The services to be delivered will include medical consultation, screening, testing for various diseases such as NCDs, HIV/AIDS, TB, STIs, cervical cancer, voluntary male circumcision, and dental care, amongst others. This outreach is possible because of the close collaboration between the Rotary clubs in Eswatini and government.
Dr. Musam Tetwa, representing the Rotary family, mentioned that most eMaswati will have the chance to be attended by specialists, which they can hardly afford, especially those in rural areas.
Sikhona lokuyofika lena esiveni angikho lokumqoka kakhulu nangingabekisa nje ukuthi bantu abakhoni ukuthola lithuba lokuthi babone bodokotela labathile labasemadolobheni ikakhulu ema-specialists.
The outreach is expected to commence on the 18th to the 21st of March 2024. For Eswatini TV News, Ndomlangeni, Sfiso Nxumalo, Mbabane.
The Honourable Minister of Sports, Culture and Youth Affairs, Bongani Nzima, says arts are becoming a source of living that the youth should consider in order to be able to change their lives for the better. The minister said this during an Eswatini National Arts and Culture Policy launch under the theme Monetizing the Arts.
The Ministry of Sports, Culture and Youth Affairs, in hand with the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Culture Organization, has launched the Eswatini National Arts and Culture Policy for the year 2023 to 2028 and also a 2-day summit. The Minister of Sports, Culture and Youth Affairs, Bongani Nzima, says the summit will close the gap that has existed between artists and the ministry.
There is no doubt that our artists are immensely talented and creative. However, there is a need for your work to translate into profit, first to benefit you and then others around you, thereby assisting the country alleviate unemployment and poverty. I have been pleased to note that the topics for the discussion during this summit will speak exactly to monetizing issues, including contracts, music distribution, royalties, online facilities, hosting festivals, accessing funding. It is through acquiring such knowledge that we can upscale our work to ensure that our arts is managed as business.
Representing the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Culture Organization, Lwandle Simelane advises the youth to consider the arts industry and keep on producing in order to make a living.
Over the years, UNESCO, through extensive consultation with member states, has come up with frameworks and roadmaps to support and inculcate culture and arts into development. Namely, we have the Seoul Arts Agenda, the Lisbon Roadmap, and the most recent UNESCO framework for arts education and culture to ensure that emerging issues are always incorporated.
Don Laga, who will be the keynote address, and the film producer and actor Hamilton Dlamini are set to show up during the summit. Reporting in Cindy Swazwane with Fabrice Msanera, Manzini.
The Minister of Natural Resources and Energy, Honourable Prince Lonko Kel, says countries under the Southern African Power Pool need to find sustainable projects that will ensure reliable and affordable energy for their citizens. The minister, who was represented by the Undersecretary Technical, Kusile Mabuza, was speaking at Happy Valley Hotel during the opening ceremony of the 62nd Southern African Power Pool General Meeting.
I acknowledge that the development of renewable energy projects being embarked on by many of the SADC countries is bringing a lot of private power developers into the sector, and it is only proper to allow them space to operate regionally. I am informed that you have revised your membership categories to allow these players to participate in electricity trading in SAP. I therefore urge you to continue to cooperate with these new players such that together you pursue the goal of providing reliable, sustainable and affordable power for all our citizens in the region.
The Secretary of the Southern African Power Pool, Louis, says more focus will be put into helping countries on sustainable energy.
Our deliberations, they fall around critical projects that have to be implemented in terms of interconnections. Mostly, we touched on the issue of interconnecting Angola that has got a 2 gigawatt surplus of power capacity. But they're not yet able to trade in the market because they're not interconnected.
The managing director of Eswatini Electricity Company, Ernest Mkonda, details Eswatini's sustainable energy projects.
We have explored the hydro potential in Maguga, and we are currently in the process of developing EPC documents to invite those interested in engineering and procurement engineering, procurement and the construction of a power supply in the country. We're also working on a project with an independent power producer that will generate 13.5 megawatts at Lower Makutuza, which is downstream of Makutuza Power Station on the Usutu Basin.
The meeting, which started on Monday, focuses on various issues like preparation, operations and market, amongst other key areas. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Ezulwini.
Now moving further afield, the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees said one of its staff members was killed on Wednesday in an Israeli strike on a food distribution center in war-hit Gaza. The health ministry in the Hamas-run Gaza Strip had earlier said 4 people were killed in the bombing of the warehouse.
It was one of the few remaining UN food centers in the Gaza Strip. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees says the Israeli military targeted its aid warehouse in Rafah, killing one of its staff and several others.
It's an UNRWA center. It's meant to be safe. Some came to work, to distribute aid to the people in need of food during the holy month of Ramadan. Suddenly, they were struck by missiles.
People on the ground are eager to show the aid supplies that were stored at the facility.
Come and see for yourself what's happening. Look.
The UN agency has been accused by Israeli officials of shielding, if not helping, Hamas, and a number of nations, including the US, have pulled their funding from the agency. The UN has launched an independent investigation into the allegations. Over at Rafah's Al-Najjar hospital, relatives have gathered to mourn their loved ones, while doctors rush to treat the wounded. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the Israeli army is investigating the incident.
The Israeli military, the Israeli government have a responsibility and an obligation to do everything possible to ensure that the humanitarians can do their jobs. And among other things, that means making sure that if there's a humanitarian facility that's clearly identified, it's not struck.
In a statement following the strike, UNRWA has detailed the attacks it suffered so far. 165 team members killed, 150 facilities hit, and more than 400 killed while seeking shelter under the UN flag. This latest attack comes as the threat of famine looms over the Strip. A ship carrying almost 200 tons of aid is on its way to Gaza from Cyprus, with hopes the new maritime corridor will mean more food can be delivered to Gazans, as Israeli checks have slowed the flow of trucks from Egypt.
While US President Joe Biden has continued to support Israel's war against Hamas, he appears to be distancing himself from Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The apparent rift between the leaders has fueled speculation that the US might restrict military aid. Viewer discretion is advised on the following story.
Israel's military campaign in Gaza and its effect on Palestinian civilians has been the focus of international condemnation.
The natural way of providing support through roads is being closed, artificially closed. And starvation is being used as a war arm.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is defiant.
None of these pressures will stop us.
Israel's very future, its very survival is at stake.
But amid mounting casualties and starving Gazans, Israel's staunchest supporter, President Joe Biden, is losing patience. Here's what he said in an interview with MSNBC Saturday.
The defense of Israel is still critical, so there's no red line. I'm going to cut off all weapons so they don't have the Iron Dome to protect them. They don't have, but there's red lines that if he crosses, and he cannot have 30,000 more Palestinians dead as a consequence of going after. There's other ways to deal.
Biden is increasingly showing his frustration with Netanyahu, including over Israeli policies that slow down overland delivery of much-needed humanitarian aid. The U.S. has joined other countries to airdrop aid, and American troops are heading to the Mediterranean to build a temporary pier off the coast of Gaza to allow aid to arrive by sea from Cyprus. Washington continues to support Israel with military aid, but if Netanyahu goes against U.S. urging and invades Rafah, where more than 1 million Palestinians are sheltering, would Biden withhold sending American weapons to Israel?
We are working through it, and I'm not going to stand at this podium and entertain hypotheticals on it.
Ahead of the U.S. presidential election in November, Biden wants to avoid giving Republicans an opportunity to steal pro-Israel votes. But he also needs to stop progressive Democrats, young voters, and Muslim and Arab Americans from abandoning him because of his support for Israel. So while Biden embraced Netanyahu in the early days following Hamas' October 7 attacks, he's now distancing himself.
So he's kind of performing a political amputation of Bibi.
Biden's actions appear to be driven by both domestic politics and foreign policy goals.
Separate Netanyahu and what Biden considers his toxic war policies from the state of Israel so that he can continue his support of Israel, which is really in his gut, without sacrificing his moral core.
Recently, Israeli War Cabinet member Benny Gantz was received by Democratic lawmakers, Vice President Kamala Harris, and other top U.S. officials, a sign of the administration's support should the popular centrist politician become Israel's next prime minister. But whether Biden's shift on Netanyahu will be enough to appease Americans angry at the president's Gaza policies remains to be seen.
2 people were killed and several injured on Thursday in Ukrainian attacks on Russia's western Belgorod region. The region's governor, Vyacheslav Vladkov said that several villages in the Belgorod region bordering Ukraine had been attacked by Ukrainian armed forces.
In one of the biggest cross-border attacks since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Kyiv forces have continued a barrage of drone strikes into Russia's Kursk and Belgorod regions, with reports emerging that 1 person was killed and 3 people were injured on Thursday. Some of the recent attacks have been claimed by Ukraine-based Russian paramilitary groups who have crossed over into Russia. But Moscow says it is fighting back. In a statement, the Russian Defense Ministry claimed to have shot down 8 MLRS projectors over Belgorod region.
At around 8:30 a.m, the Russian armed forces have foiled attempts by the Kyiv regime to carry out terrorist attacks on the territory of the Russian Federation using MLRS projectiles.
On the other side, residents in Donetsk in Ukraine's east are reeling from the aftermath of a deadly Russian strike. 2 people died and 5 were injured on Wednesday when Russian troops fired a rocket at a 5-story building.
I haven't slept for 4 nights. I keep thinking, how long is it possible? They keep striking and striking. I thought I'd get some sleep today. It seemed normal and quiet. I lay down and fell asleep. Then I was thrown out of bed. Something fell on me, glass.
On Monday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky described the situation in the east as much better than it has been. But Ukraine's army chief says circumstances are still difficult, with a shortage of manpower, ammunition and delays to Western aid. Kyiv's forces are on the defensive across some 1,000 kilometres of front lines in Ukraine's south and east. Their reinforcement will be critical to not losing further ground.
French President Emmanuel Macron said on Thursday that Europe's security was at stake in Ukraine, warning that a Russian victory against Kyiv would reduce Europe's credibility to zero.
Bonsoir, Monsieur le Président.
Bonsoir.
On Thursday at the Élysée Palace, President Macron not only refused to rule out the idea of French boots on the Ukrainian ground, but doubled down, saying that fixing a limit on what France would do to stop Russia would be a sign of weakness.
I could say to you tonight, it's far away, we are for peace. But those who say that, the same people who don't want to support Ukraine, they are not choosing peace. They are choosing defeat, giving up on sovereignty. Because they're making the choice of saying, we have lines we won't cross.
He would not be drawn, though, on what it would take for France to send in troops, adding that it was not his wish and that he was not seeking escalation.
We have limited our vocabulary too much. We are not escalating things. We are not at war with Russia, but we must not let Russia win either.
Adding that all options were on the table to assist Ukraine. The sit-down interview came after a shift in the French position earlier this year. Emmanuel Macron, having, by his own admission, been the Western leader who had spoken the most with President Putin over the years, and having said in the early months of the Russian invasion that the war must not end in a humiliation for Russia. But in February, the president signed a €3 billion bilateral security agreement with President Zelensky, soon after launching the French-led artillery coalition to help meet the needs of the struggling Ukrainian counter-offensive.
A powerful Haitian gang leader pledged Wednesday to continue fighting that has plunged the country into chaos as stakeholders work towards establishing a transitional governing body to replace the outgoing prime minister. Gangs that control most of the capital, Port-au-Prince, launched an armed campaign almost 2 weeks ago, saying they intended to topple the Prime Minister Ariel Henry, sending the country into violent conflict with warnings of possible famine and a civil war.
Taking advantage of a lull in violence, Haitians in Port-au-Prince flock to markets to buy food and banks to withdraw cash. Some businesses are reopening after more than a week, though the airport and schools stay shuttered. The country remains in crisis as stakeholders work to establish a panel to manage a political transition. This after Prime Minister Ariel Henry stepped down on Tuesday. However, many doubt an interim body proposed by the regional bloc CARICOM will solve Haiti's problems.
We don't want CARICOM. They never offer results to Haiti. We have the Constitution of 1987 that provides the answer when there's a vacancy in our leadership.
Negotiations to install the Presidential Council appeared to be crumbling Wednesday, with some political parties rejecting the idea altogether. The transitional body is to have members drawn from political parties, the private sector, religious groups, and a civil society coalition. They'll be tasked with naming an interim prime minister.
None of this is easy. None of this is going to happen from one day to the next. But at least there is a plan, a process in place to do that. It's Haitian designed, it's Haitian led, but it's supported by many countries, not only in this hemisphere, but around the world.
Meanwhile, the country's most powerful gang leader, Jimmy Cherizier, said his coalition of armed groups, quote, didn't care about Henry's resignation and would continue to fight for Haiti's liberation. Gangs launched violent attacks while Henry was in Kenya at the end of February to push for the deployment of a UN-backed law and order mission. After saying Kenya would hold off in sending troops, President William Ruto confirmed Wednesday the plan could resume once the Transitional Council was installed.
The House on Wednesday passed a bill that will lead to a nationwide ban of the popular video app TikTok if its China-based owner doesn't sell its stake, as lawmakers acted on concerns that the company's current ownership structure is a national security threat.
Words being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended, the bill is passed.
In a bitterly divided Congress, a rare moment of bipartisan unity as the U.S. House of Representatives passed a bill on Wednesday, 352 in favor and 65 against. Democrats and Republicans coming together over privacy and national security concerns posed by Chinese-owned TikTok, the wildly popular video sharing app with some 170 million users in the U.S. alone.
TikTok is a threat to our national security because it is owned by ByteDance, which does the bidding of the Chinese Communist Party. We know this because ByteDance leadership says so and because Chinese law requires it.
The bill would force TikTok's owner, ByteDance, to sell the video app to non-Chinese owners within 6 months or face a ban in the U.S. TikTok's ties to Beijing have been an ongoing source of fear that the app could be used by the Chinese government to spy on Americans or shape their political views. Accusations TikTok denies, the company claiming it has never shared U.S. user data with the Chinese government.
China-based employees routinely access this data, even unbeknownst to employees of TikTok USA.
In response to the passage of the bill, TikTok's VP for Public Policy released a statement saying this latest legislation being rushed through at unprecedented speed without even the benefit of a public hearing poses serious constitutional concerns. TikTok has attempted to rally its supporters against the legislation, which now faces an uncertain fate in the U.S. Senate. U.S. President Joe Biden has said he would sign the bill if it reaches his desk. The presumptive Republican nominee for president, Donald Trump, reversed course in recent days, saying he was against a ban on TikTok, claiming it would only strengthen Facebook, which he called an enemy of the people.
President Joe Biden faces uncertain prospects in the key swing state of Michigan, where more than 100,000 Democratic voters choose uncommitted rather than the president in the recent primary. On Thursday, he visited Saginaw.
President Joe Biden spent Thursday with Democratic volunteers at a home in Saginaw, Michigan, a diverse city with a population that's more than half Black or Latino. It's part of a month-long campaign to bolster his re-election prospects in various states across the country. He was in Wisconsin on Wednesday. His strategy? Contrasting his record to that of Republican presumptive nominee, former President Donald Trump.
My predecessor, who failed the most basic duty any president owes the American people, the duty to care, just to care.
Michigan is a key battleground state, and Biden is looking to energize Black and union-affiliated voters, crucial for his victory.
10, 20, 30 years go by, and the same blight is here. The same joblessness is here. The same issues are here.
The state may not be fertile ground for him after some 101,000 Michiganders voted uncommitted in a recent primary, effectively snubbing Biden over his staunch support for Israel in its war against Hamas. While Biden has pushed for a temporary ceasefire and said Israel must do more to protect and provide aid for civilians, his critics say it's not enough.
He has not declared exactly what abandoned Biden has demanded on October 27th, when it set a ceasefire deadline day on October 31st to have to call for a permanent ceasefire. And we vowed we would never support him after he passed that deadline, and we remain committed to that.
Voters are also concerned about Biden's age. Some pundits are urging him to step aside for someone younger, such as popular Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer,
who is a centrist to a degree, who is proven to be a good campaigner, who clearly is an up-and-coming power broker in the Democratic Party, who's a woman, and it's about time, woman that doesn't suffer from the baggage of Hillary Clinton, and obviously is from one of a half dozen swing states that are critical.
With his campaign in full swing, Biden is unlikely to heed those calls. The 81-year-old is set to battle Trump, who will be 78 on Election Day, and is facing numerous legal woes.
We have the worst president in the history of our country. His name is Joe Biden, sometimes referred to as Crooked Joe Biden, and he must be defeated.
Polls show that most Americans, including here in Michigan, are unenthusiastic about the rematch.
Dutch far-right leader Geert Wilders said Wednesday that he would not be prime minister despite his stunning election win in November due to a lack of support across the political spectrum.
He obtained a convincing victory in November elections, but 4 months later, Geert Wilders has recognized he's reached a political impasse.
I can only become prime minister if all parties in the coalition support it. They didn't. I would like a right-wing cabinet, less asylum and immigration. The Dutch come first. My love for my country and voters is greater and more important than my own position.
4 Dutch parties, including Wilders' Freedom Party, have been in coalition talks for more than 100 days, but so far they've borne no fruit. At the beginning of February, the centrist leader, Peter Omtzigt, ruled out joining a majority cabinet led by Wilders. The Freedom Party manifesto calls for a ban on mosques, the Quran and the hijab. It also wants a binding referendum on the Netherlands leaving the European Union. However, Wilders was forced to drop these plans amid resistance from his potential allies. There are now reports the parties are looking at other options, like a cabinet made up of technocrats or a minority cabinet propped up by support from Omtzigt's party. Time is ticking, though. Outgoing Prime Minister Mark Rutte is holding down the fort for now, but is widely expected to become the next head of NATO in October.
Russia has rebranded its Wagner paramilitary group as an expeditionary corps now controlled by Moscow's military intelligence arm, and the force is offering a regime survival package to autocratic regimes in Africa. Britain's Royal United Services Institute says.
Russia's Wagner paramilitary group was active in several African countries, including Libya, where its fighters aided General Khalifa Haftar in return for access to Libyan oil and gas. They were frequently accused of committing human rights abuses. In June last year, Wagner's chief, Yevgeny Prigozhin, led a failed mutiny against Moscow, and the group was disbanded. Prigozhin died in a plane crash 2 months later. That left a dilemma for the Kremlin: what to do about Wagner's operations in Africa.
After that so-called mutiny, the decision was made it would be better to have it more, in-house rather than outsourced.
According to an analysis by Britain's Royal United Services Institute, or RUSI, Moscow has rebranded the Wagner Group as the Expeditionary Corps of Russia's military intelligence agency, the GRU, with a target of recruiting a further 40,000 troops to serve in the force. Its aim is to secure Russian interests overseas, including access to mineral resources, while also reducing Moscow's vulnerability to Western sanctions, according to the report.
What they're doing is just expand their colonialism in the global South countries. And right now they're very much focused on African countries, but they have plans for Latin America as well, some Asian countries. They will also have, political technologists, media experts, intelligence officers who specialized in political warfare, economic operations. So pretty much everything to be able not only to infiltrate that global South countries, but also to establish pro-Russian regimes there.
Moscow is actively marketing that offer to African governments.
They sell this conception as so-called regime survival package.
The RUSI report says Russia helped to foment military coups in parts of Africa and is now seeking to displace Western influence. France and other European nations sent troops to Mali in 2013 to help fight an Islamist insurgency. But they were withdrawn in 2022 after a military coup. A UN peacekeeping force also pulled out last year. Several hundred Russian-backed fighters are now in Mali supporting the junta. Moscow has also backed military governments in Niger and Burkina Faso. Speaking Wednesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin denied any plan to oust Western influence from the region.
To be honest, overall, we do not have national tasks at the Russian state level there. We're just being friends with them, that's all.
The RUSI report disputes that assertion and says that Russia's new expeditionary corps shows Moscow has finally decided to explicitly challenge the international system.
In our sports news, British High Commission has His Excellency Simon Boyden says the Kingdom of Eswatini has so much talent when it comes to sport. His Excellency Boyden says this is well judged when the country takes part in world stage games such as the Olympics and Commonwealth Games. His Excellency Boyden was speaking in an interview with Eswatini TV's Fabrice Msonera. Eswatini Olympics and Commonwealth Games Association's Chief Executive Officer Maxwell Jele says Team Eswatini, that is representing the kingdom in the ongoing All Africa Games in Ghana, is doing well so far. The country is left with 2 competitions from taekwondo and athletics, where there is hope that a medal could be achieved. Jele was speaking to Eswatini TV Sports in a telephonic interview while in Accra in Ghana. Right, that's how we come to the end of our second news bulletin this morning. We shall take a short commercial break. Then after that, Fabrice Msonera will have a sit down with Shumna Gubili. They'll be discussing all things sport this morning.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Now welcome back. Sifuna ukuxoxisa temidlalo nensatheli yemsakato yato temidlalo Fabrice Msonera. Njengoba ke imidlalo yalapha ekhaya yePremier League isesemisiwe ngenzeka ukuthi sihlangu siyati lungiselela kuyaqhutselana nalamanye emave. Sitafuna nje ukuqala eNingizimu Afrika sibuke iNedbank Cup lengena ku round of 16. Lo muhla kune game Fabrice Stellenbosch is playing Milford to start off the round 16 games ayo in Nedbank. You look at the whole fixture go weekend, a lot of exciting games. William Pelasonto, but yes, we do open up the fixtures with Milford versus Stellenbosch. It's not a very much anticipated game from the fans, but it's a big game nonetheless for Stellenbosch.
Yeah, no, it's a very good morning, especially to the viewers. But the Nedbank, but I think it's one of the competitions in South Africa, Nakurmangan League. Majority of the clubs have forgotten. So it all now starts with the Nedbank, Telecom, and MTN. These are the competitions that the teams are looking at because Sundown is pretty much dominating the league. Yeah, starting from today, Stellenbosch. This is the team that defeated Kaizer Chiefs, so you can't undermine them. Coming to this game, they're full of confidence at Prince Magogo Stadium in Durban. So there is a hope that maybe, it's if anything is to go by. I don't see any surprise. Maybe they could surprise Stellenbosch. But my main attention would have to go on Saturday. Maybe when you look at Orlando Pirates against Hungry Lions at Orlando Stadium, it should be a comfortable win for Orlando Pirates. Yeah, and then you've got also another clash that is quite important. Maritzburg United visiting Masandawanas, and I think that's also another clash that you can highlight that is going to be quite important.
You are saying the biggest game for you is Orlando Pirates versus
No, the one at the
Hungry
bottom.
Lions.
Yeah.
But the one at Sundowns or Orlando Pirates? Which
The
one is it?
Sundowns one, yeah.
But that's an easy win for Sundowns.
You can't really call it as an easy win. In my respect, it's a team with status. It's a team that have shown characters and strength in the Premier League. But you have to look at Hungry Lions. We don't have much in terms of records and information about them. But so I think that's what I'm saying. On paper, it should be an easy one for Orlando Pirates. But for the one with Maritzburg, yes, Sundowns have shown strength these days with their performance, but it's a good fixture, especially in the knockout tournament of a knockout competition.
They play on Sunday, March 17 at 6 p.m. And similarly, Orlando Pirates and Hungry Lions play
Saturday,
tomorrow.
which is tomorrow, yes.
Yeah, and it's going to be a very interesting game, and
At
you
6
are
o'clock,
giving that
yeah.
win to Orlando Pirates.
I am giving to Orlando Pirates. And,
Orlando Pirates just beat Kaizer Chiefs last weekend.
But that's the confidence they're going when they came. I mean, this is pretty much on paper, like I said. I know people would say there could be surprises. This is a knockout to them, but I don't think they will struggle. I mean, they're home. It's a comfortable win for them against the Hungry Lions.
And Chippa United, how do you feel about Chippa United, particularly playing against Ravens?
I think, there's something that we call surprises in a knockout tournament. We've seen that against Chiefs, with Chiefs with the team on top of the screen. But we're now looking at a situation where now we're edging closer. There's 3 games now to the victory. So when you calculate, you look at head-to-head. I mean, you'll find that probably in a friendly only, but in terms of a competition, you hardly see the two teams have met in the previous life. So you'll always have to give it to Chippa United and say, you know what, they stand a chance. Yes, there could be that surprises, football being football, but I give it to Chippa United, I give it to Orlando Pirates against Hungry Lions. There's another good fixture, actually, of the DSTV Premiership sides. Richards Bay against Super Sports United. We have our own international player there, Figueiredo. It's a good one. It's a good one. Richards Bay is at home at the Eswatini Stadium.
Was he called to practice with Sitlav?
Yeah, I mean, they were called, but they haven't left their alternative club.
So he's going to play tomorrow.
So they need to finish their games this coming weekend, and then after this coming weekend, we can expect him from Monday next week. So yeah, that's a good fixture, and maybe it's a time also to watch him before he comes for Sitlav. So Sports United, Richards Bay, it's going to be a terrific one.
Yeah, so what would be your prediction be for the team that's going to win it?
I'm looking at the current form, Richards Bay.
Really?
Looking at Super Sports United current form. I think I would give it to Super Sports United, in as much as pretty much Richards Bay is at home. So I'm comfortably giving it to Super Sports United. And they should go through to the next round.
The Nedbank Cup, when it's all said and done, who do you anticipate to win it all?
It's still early. It's the last 16. We still have to get to the quarterfinals, semi-finals. But if you still have teams like Sundowns, you still have Pirates, you still have Super Sports United. Any of the three teams will get to the final, probably lift it.
It's very interesting, Fabrice. About 7 games in the English Premier League have been postponed due to the ongoing FA Cup, but match day 29 of 38 goes on nonetheless, and we do have a few games. Burnley versus Brentford will open the weekend at 5 p.m. Saturday, 16 March, which is going to be tomorrow. A very interesting game that one is going to be, Fabrice, particularly because you look at how Burnley has been playing and how Brentford has been playing. One of those teams where they just make the league more exciting. Yes, they are not like your Queen's Park Rangers. It's not like a couple of years ago, but they are necessary.
I'm looking at the, I saw the game, is it Crystal Palace against, no, it's Bournemouth. It was Bournemouth against, against Luton, where they won 4-2. And that confirmed that Bournemouth will not be relegated. They will stay in the Premier League.
Yep.
So I'm looking at these fixtures here. So Burnley, I mean, company is struggling. You should admit it. I think pretty much they're going to be relegated, in my opinion. Luton City, pretty much they are relegated. The team I still have question marks. It's Nottingham Forest. I look at the amount of money they spent in the beginning of the season, transfer window. And you look at their performance; it's not quite impressive. So, Nottingham Forest, I still have a question mark. But Burnley and Luton, I think pretty much they are going down. But look at that fixture on Sunday: West Ham United against Aston Villa. West Ham last night qualified for the semi-final. The quarter-final. I beg your pardon. The quarter-final of the Europa League. They are playing Aston Villa, who also last night qualified for the Conference League quarterfinals. So it's a good clash. West Ham has not been doing well in the league. I think if you look where they're standing, number 7, I think their previous games, 2 to 3 games, their performance haven't been good. But look at where Aston Villa is standing. If Spurs is to win their game this weekend, they could up their points and maybe take that position, number 4, and then wait until Aston Villa plays. But what I like is that now we have some teams not playing this weekend. We've got teams playing this weekend. I think we've got Manchester City. They're playing against Newcastle United. Arsenal is no more in the competition. They are resting. You've got the likes of this. So until March 31, that's when we're going to see the other teams competing, like Arsenal and everyone. But look what I was talking about at the bottom of the table. Luton Town, I'm looking at Burnley. Sheffield United, that's another team that I think really, if nothing much goes in, they should be going down.
Yeah.
Look where they're standing. But confirmation, Everton, they are not safe yet. Brentford, they are not safe yet. Crystal Palace, they are not safe yet. The team that is safe, it's number 13, Bournemouth, above. Anyone from number 1 to 13 cannot be relegated in the remaining games, because if we're left with 10 games, that's 33 points. So if then you are 35 points as Bournemouth, you are safe from relegation. So anyone who can get relegated is from number 14 up to number 20 in the remaining 10 games.
That Arsenal elephant is sitting pretty there at the top. And the fans always say, we hope nobody's going to topple us now, and they hope that they can maintain being up there.
Yeah.
How plausible is that? How possible is that going to be for Arsenal? And they're in a really, really good form right now, and their motivation is very, very high, because they just advanced to the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League, which wasn't easy, by the way. But stellar penalties, you do want to give them
for
that.
the first time since 2011.
And I want us to have that conversation. That's 14 years.
That's 14 years without getting to the quarterfinals. And I think it's funny on how the last time they played the quarterfinals, they had beaten FC Porto. And now this time around, 14 years later. And it's amazing. It's just that these clubs, they don't survive on financial status by UEFA. But you look at how much they have made by just qualifying. Over £91 million, just getting to the quarterfinals. Amazing. But
David Raya, so brilliant, yes.
So brilliant. But this year I'm disappointed. English League has got only 2 teams in the quarterfinals. It's Manchester City and Arsenal. By the way, later on there will be a draw. And in Spain we've got 3 teams: Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, and Real Madrid.
It's really good teams. It's not looking good for Arsenal. I'll tell you that much. And when you look at Real Madrid's current form and who they want to sign,
do you know the team?
Want to be scared.
Do you know the team that actually? I know people are saying everyone has got an opinion. I look at the records. I look at how we play.
And tell me about
recently, I was talking to some colleagues. Someone says, you know what? I said Real Madrid record-wise, and I think the reason why they say that, they remember in 2006 when Arsenal played the final, that 1-0 goal by Henry. But my prediction is that to avoid maybe any complications, avoid Madrid, avoid City at this point in time. But I think anyone in that category, BVB, Borussia Dortmund, it shouldn't be a difficult one. Atletico Madrid is another tricky one, but Barcelona, they're really not up to their game. Mbappe could be the only problem with PSG. Bayern, you have to deal with Kane. But then I think they have a chance to go to the semi-final. If they can avoid the 2 teams and avoid complications, City and Madrid, they go to the semi-finals. And I think if they get to the semi-final, they still have a chance, a big one. I think in Europe currently, they are the best team going forward. Among all the teams here, Arsenal is the best team going forward. That is judged on the goals they scored. That is judged on the goals they have conceded. So I think if they can go forward to the semi-finals, then they can go to the final. Probably, let's see how it goes. But City, do they stand a chance to defend the title?
Yeah.
Yes, still they stand a chance. Madrid, the parents of the tournament, do they have a chance to go through the way? They still have a chance. Madrid, you can never let them out. PSG, the consistency of being in the quarterfinal for 11 seasons in a row. Bayern Munich also reaching the quarterfinals for the 11th season in a row. So Barcelona, they are back after 4 years. Atletico Madrid are back after 2 years. PVP are back after 3 years. So you have to look at
they're really familiar
teams.
with the UEFA.
Yeah, these
unlike
guys are familiar. Yeah.
So here's my submission.
We've got a big chance, by the way, of seeing one of the English teams playing at home because the finals are in Wembley. So if the finals are in Wembley, then there's a huge possibility of seeing either City and Arsenal in the finals.
And what a story it would be for Arsenal to win it all this season after going such, possibly their biggest test so far. They've been quite the underdogs. Let's look at the FA Cup. These are some of the fixtures, for the weekend. It was the quarterfinals, by the way, starting up with Wolves versus Coventry tomorrow at 2:15. We do have Man City versus Newcastle at 7:30 p.m. One of those games people want to see. Chelsea is going to face Leicester on Sunday, and Manchester United and Liverpool as the biggest game of the FA Cup this weekend. 5:30 p.m. on Sunday. We'll talk about it on Monday, but let's look at the predictions for all these games, starting up with Wolves versus Coventry.
Wolves should get a comfortable win on home soil at the Millennium Stadium. Millennium Stadium is their home. They will get a comfortable win. Chelsea, Leicester City. I have question marks. Leicester City have upped their game. They're leading the championship, Sky Championship as #1. They're comfortable. And this is what I like about football. There are players that will always give you. I told someone that in 2014, when Leicester City was promoted, they got promoted with Jamie Vardy, and then they lifted the league in 2016. They got relegated last season with Jamie Vardy, and if they got promoted next season, they'll be once again get promoted with Jamie Vardy. He's good to watch. He's still scoring goals, amongst the top scorer of the Sky Championship. So against Chelsea, that is struggling, I've got my reservations. I can't really give it to Chelsea. Leicester City are doing well. And if you look at the likes of Iheanacho, those guys. So come to this game, it's an FA Cup, one victory, one game, you are into the next stage. But if there's a draw, then there's a return match at the, Foxes Stadium, which is the Leicester City Stadium. So, 50-50 to me. But the biggest game, obviously, like you said,
United versus Liverpool. Yeah. Make your predictions for that one. I mean, Liverpool, they want to give Klopp a beautiful exit. One wants to agree that the relationship between Klopp and Liverpool is not bad at all.
It's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
I was actually listening to the interview where, some legends were saying, can he be convinced to stay? But
he said no.
He said no.
Yeah.
And I think professionally, when these guys say they are stepping down, there must be a reason. I remember Zidane, when he stepped down at Real Madrid, they were also told, can you convince him? These guys, when they say they want to step down, it means it took some time. The thoughts that went to the decision, it's incredible. But this game, Sunday, I think Liverpool, they stand a chance. I was watching their game against Prague. They've got last night 11-2 goals, 11 against 2 on aggregate. This team is outstanding. The young stars, yes, they come in the likes of Salah, Van Dijk, and everyone. Joe Gomez, who now got a call from England. All these players are there. But if you look at the young stars, they can go to Old Trafford on Sunday and pull an
Can I give you my prediction? When it's all said and done, Manchester City is going to be the winners of the FA Cup this year.
It's hard to tell at
I'll
this
tell you
point in
that.
time. It's hard to tell.
Good enough. Let's go to the La Liga match day 29 of 38. Things are really interesting here. It's a lot of games this weekend. Real Sociedad.
Look at that game at the bottom of the screen.
Oh my goodness. Atletico versus Barcelona.
That's
and
the
indeed, Fabrice. In fact, let's talk about that game. 10 p.m. On Sunday. You really want to focus on this game because look at the form of these two teams. Barcelona is starting to take shape. You look at the standings. They are really taking shape and they are back competing. Just 61 points. They are still in the race.
They're still in the race. I think at this point in time, there's only 10 games left. Like I was saying earlier on, even England, that's 30 points. Yes, I know we talk about football, but I don't see Madrid losing probably 5 games in a row. for you to think that maybe Barcelona will pick up. I don't see that.
They can draw.
Yes, the difference is 8
it's
points.
10 games. They can.
8 points is probably 3 games, because 3 games is 9, and it's 9 points. 8 points. The team that I would think that is likely at some point to put a bit of pressure, Nakona, it's a bit of pressure, not full pressure. It's Girona, because of where they are, 7 points. They still have to face them. Maybe reduce that deficit to 5 points or to 4 points. Yeah, but at this point in time, I think slowly, if this game ends in a draw between Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, or Atletico Madrid beats Barcelona, then Girona also fail to maximize points, because you have to look at Girona also. They are playing this weekend against Getafe. They are visiting Getafe. It's a mini derby, actually, in the city of Getafe in Spain. Then you have to say, you know what, Madrid slowly, they are running away with this trophy. They have a chance really to clinch this league. 70% they are clinching the league.
They are playing Osasuna this weekend, sitting there at position number 10. Should be an easy win for Real Madrid.
Yeah, it should be an easy win, like I highlighted.
But it should be an easy win for Girona as well. Yes, it is a derby.
Yeah.
But you look at the current form,
but yeah, they're visiting. Let's see how it goes, because there's also there has been lack of consistency in the Girona side, and actually Pep was asked what he thinks about this club, because remember what we said last time, Girona is owned by Pep Guardiola's brother. The Guardiola family is in charge of Girona. So I think
family of winners.
Family of the winners. So when you look at what the job they have done with this club, and then you ask yourself,
very impressive.
I think achieving Champions League status next season, it's an achievement for them, and maybe finish that position second. It's still an achievement,
we didn't make our prediction for the Barcelona and Atletico Madrid game. I mean, Atletico is just as good as Barcelona. I could make a great point there. So both teams to score, Barcelona for the win.
Yeah, draw will make it for me. I don't think the consistency as well is a problem for them. A draw will make it for me, if I was to look at both sides. They play both midweek Champions League game. There's no excuse that one is tired, one had more time to rest. So they have both qualified for the Champions League quarterfinal. So I will settle for a draw for me.
I want Barcelona to win it, just to make the league interesting, for them to still have that hope that they can still win the league. Yes, you have highlighted only 10 games.
With Xavi leaving, the consistency is not there, especially in the league. He can do it in the Champions League, but in the league, I don't see.
Lewandowski not good enough to save Barcelona, especially with the number of games remaining for this. And what it means for Real Madrid, it means they would have to lose how many games and draw how many games. Quite impossible if you think about it.
Yeah, it is quite impossible. And I think I was actually also thinking, what are the potential replacement for Guardiola? There is a possibility that Luis Enrique might come back from PSG. There's also a possibility that they want the Brighton coach, Zebri. Names of those who are replacing. Of course, Arteta has been mentioned, but Arteta made it clear that I'm not going anywhere. There is also Nagelsmann, the one who is to coach Bayern. These are the names that have been mentioned that who could replace Xavi. But I think for me it was a quick decision for him to decide to step down. I mean, he's a legend of the club. I still think he can offer something, because anything he asks on the table, they give him. Do you want players? They will give you, because he's a legend of the club. He's been through the structures of the club, So I thought he could have spent 2 to 3 more seasons and see if he can achieve something. But let's see. He still has a chance to in the Champions League. Yeah.
Another thing that we should see, I'm saying, let's see how Sihlangu prepares for these big matches that they're going to have. And, I do want to commend the strategy that they are going with regarding preparing Sihlangu, playing with the local teams, just to really test them against good players.
Practice match local, yes, good job. But there was a friend in Mozambique. Then that's not on.
Politics of the game.
Yes, locally yes, but internationally no. You can't hide an international.
Fair enough. We've come to the end of the show. But at the end of the day, I just want Sihlangu to be in good form, and that's my
they played the Swallows yesterday and Sings in Hospes. Practice different formation for coach. They won against Swallows. They won Kusile and did the same job. So it's good. But we need those practitioners. And I know finances are not allowing, but Sifuna was Zimbabwe, was Zambia. Those are the practice matches we want. We want to play the so-called big guns of the regions.
With what we have on the
Not
table,
to undermine
right?
Mozambique.
No, essentially, but with what we have right now in terms of money, what the strategy that they have come up with, I'm commending that. Yes, I agree with you with your other submissions, but I'm just commending Gutsi. There's activity and one that is strategic. We've come to the end of our program for the day. Ndaba nempela sonto lenhle. Sithembe ukuthi nitawabukela lawa magame lataba khona kule mphela sonto. Sathi ndawukhona kulandzela masi wakhulumisa ngemsombuluko. Otherwise, from myself and the whole Kusile Breakfast Show crew, nibe nempela sonto lenhle nisale kahle.